Oh, did we hear from anyone else? I know Ms. Harris and anyone else not going to be able to attend? Okay, Chris, I think we're going to go ahead and get started if you're ready.
All right, happy to do it.
All right, thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone to the City of Charleston Planning Commission meeting of December the 15th, 2021. My name is Charlie Carish. I'm the chairman. I'm joined by Vice Chairman Harry Lassane, Mr. Jimmy Bailey, Ms. Laquita Bryant Jenkins, Ms. Donna Jacobs, Ms. Angie Johnson, and Ms. Sunday Lempesis. There's one person missing. I just want to acknowledge Erica Harrison is off and she's in, where'd she go? Antarctica, I think, on vacation. So if I go to Atlanta, it's a big trip and she goes to a really bigger trip. So anyway, I want to thank all these folks for their service, the commission members, the volunteers appointed by Charleston City Council. And I know you join me in thanking them for their work and their time. The way this meeting will work is I'll read an item from the agenda into the record. Then we'll hear from staff. And then after staff gives us their view and recommendation, we'll hear from the applicant. Then we'll hear from anyone in support of the application, anyone that may be opposed to the application. And then we'll give the applicant a chance to rebut anything that was said if they'd like to. After that, we'll close the public hearing and the council and the commission members will discuss and make motions and vote on. I'd like to also note that any written comments that are received will receive 24 hours in advance of this meeting, and the way that it's happening now is they're summarized. And so that's new. And I just want to let y'all know that. But I was going to ask Mr. Morgan to introduce himself and any staff members that would be on discussing anything tonight from his department, as well as maybe give us a view of next month where I think we're going to be meeting in person.
Okay, yes, sir. We are charting for your January 19th meeting to be in person. It'll be the first of our return to in-person board and commission meetings in our department. So barring some sort of, COVID unfortunate situation, we will be in person at our regular public meeting room on the ground floor of 2 George. So look forward to seeing you there then. So this evening, I am presenting cases. My name is Christopher Morgan. I'm the planning manager here at the City of Charleston. Also presenting will be Anna Harp, our senior zoning planner. Running the meeting behind the scenes are Chloe Stuber, our planner, and Philip Overcash, our senior planner. And then Philip Clapper is our clerk who will be putting together the minutes. We also will have folks from our Housing and Community Development Department for a couple of issues. Matt Ojala will be here, as well as Gianna Shaw Johnson. So range of city staff tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Any changes since we published this agenda, and is any changes or updates that we need to know about?
We do have the item under subdivision number 2, Haswell Street on Daniel Island has been deferred.
Okay.
So that is a change from when the original publication of the agenda occurred.
Thank you, sir. So we'll go ahead and get started. Number 1 on the rezone. Well, we'll deal with the minutes. Why don't we go ahead and do the minutes at the end if we can, if that's okay with you all. Rezonings number 1 is 2003 Cherry Hill Lane, Peninsula Neck, TMS number 46402-00053, a portion approximately 0.69 acres. Request rezoning from general business GB to heavy industrial HI on a portion of the property. Mr. Morgan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this property is in some of the upper reaches of the city. Cherry Hill Lane is here off Upper Meeting Street Road, not far from the end of the city limits up at Pittsburgh Avenue. The 4-mile settlement area is also adjacent to this property. And you see some of the houses and a church that's here. And we'll look at some other images that give you a better sense of where that settlement area is here. And the request is to rezone a portion of this property because this is actually a larger parcel. And it is possible to rezone just a portion of property. Already a portion of the property is zoned heavy industrial right here fronting on Cherry Hill Lane. And now they would like to extend that a little bit further down to the south on the property. And again, that is an allowed request to have just a portion of the property zoned that way. And then they would leave the remainder of the property zoned as general business. We have some images here. This property does show up in our future land use plan, of course, and it shows up as, again, it is part of the settlement, adjacent to the settlement area here, and the recommended zoning category or recommended land use category, excuse me, is industrial. So that would equate to both light industrial or heavy industrial, and the request is, of course, for the heavy industrial. We have some images of the property. Again, you can see it's currently industrially used. It's a trucking terminal, storage of containers. It is adjacent to the 4-mile settlement area, and then another commercial business here, other trucking related industrial type businesses here, and then a future City of Charleston public service yard that will be on this property over here. You all can see my cursor, correct? My cursor showing
yes,
up.
Sir.
Okay. And then the new location of Grow Food Carolina is right here at the corner of Harmon Street and Herbert Street. They are moving from Morrison Drive to this location here. And then there's some other industrial operations to the south here. So it is a fairly dynamic area. We are seeing kind of more and more interest in this area of town and mixture of uses. And so, these categories do allow for that. Of course, the general business that the bulk of the site would remain allows for both residential uses as well as commercial uses. Here we have a oblique image showing the adjoining properties. Again, an actual new house has been built here On 4 Mile Lane, this is in the last couple of years that this house has appeared. And then there are about 3 or 4 others in the 4 Mile Lane area and a small church that make up this small community here, settlement area. And then some of these commercial establishments have seen some renovations that have improved the look and character of their buildings as well over here. Our traffic and transportation department also leases currently this facility here. So again, a whole mix of things going on in the surrounding area. And here's another image. You can see the future city public service yard is in this location here. And then the subject properties here with the area that would be rezoned over in here. And here's a street level view from Cherry Hill Lane coming into the property. And this is across from Cherry Hill Lane. And our recommendation is for approval based on the recommendation of industrial from the comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I tell you, it is amazing. If you ride out there, the construction going on is pretty amazing. So, Chloe, I see there's several folks presenting. Are they available now for us?
Yes, give me 1 second and promote them to panelists. Brian and Matt, I'm not seeing the others from your team, Stuart and Will. Is that everybody that is needing to be promoted?
I believe so. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Gentlemen,
ma'am.
y'all go ahead whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, this is Brian Riley with Thomas & Hutton Engineering Company on behalf of the applicant. Thank you and the fellow commissioners for your time this evening. Also want to thank Mr. Morgan and staff for their help with this application. We really don't have much to add. I mean, the basis of the rezoning request was that little sliver of heavy industrial appeared to be left over maybe from years ago with a previous subdivision, and it's pretty much unusable just by the shape of it. So the request is to expand it such that the heavy industrial zone is more usable for potential redevelopment of this parcel. We're happy to answer any questions that the commissioners may have.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. And I see, Chloe, there's no one signed up to speak and there's no written comments. So that being the case, we'll close the public hearing on this, and I'd ask commission members for questions, comments, or a motion.
Jacobs has her hand raised.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to make the motion for approval, but I would like to state for the record that this is the first application we've seen since we did our extensive settlement community mapping during the comprehensive plan. I actually helped Chloe find this plat for this area. It's, and I pulled it up on my computer so I could read from it. It's called Grants Park, Hibernian Park 4 Mile. And actually part of this area that we're rezoning used to be the 4 Mile colored school under Charleston County. If you look on the plat, it looks almost like this little area that Christopher was speaking to in front. And I don't, if you look at the whole area globally, you wouldn't even recognize this little settlement community, but it does start the conversation of how we're going to respect these things moving forward. And it probably most likely will be in some design work to respect the residential area from whatever's going to be there, which is somewhat out of our purview. But I would just like to state that this is our first application where we have some zoning reworking of the land around the settlement community that we identified and mapped during our comprehensive plan program. But I do move for approval. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms.
I'll
Jacobs.
second Jacobs, Mr. Carish.
Okay, Ms. Lampasas. You're fighting for a second. Ms. Lampasas is second on the motion. Any other discussion or questions? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey?
Aye in favor.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Bryant Jenkins?
Aye in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Jacobs?
Aye in favor.
Thanks. Ms. Johnson?
Aye in favor.
Great. Ms. Lampasas?
Aye in favor.
Mr. Lassane?
Aye in favor.
And I'm in favor as well. So that's 7 in favor and none opposed. So that item passes. Number 2 on the agenda is Isla Park Drive, Daniel Island, TMS number 271000000. I think that number 0 is 1, a portion approximately 0.08 acres, press rezoning Daniel Island Residential, D1-R to Daniel Island Conservation, DI-C on a portion of the property. Mr. Morgan.
Thank you. And this is a pretty straightforward request. It's a very, very small piece of property. It's for a cellular communications equipment. It's on the golf club property. Here you see an image of the zoning in the surrounding area. And it's Daniel Island Residential right now, and the request is to go to Daniel Island Conservation. We have some other images in our current comprehensive plan or a new city plan. It is shown as low impact and conserved, so it makes sense that a golf course would be on such land. And a cellular tower on a property zone for the conservation makes a lot of sense in a location like that. We have an aerial image, and if you see the arrow here, this is roughly where the cell tower would go. And we have, so it's not immediately adjacent to houses, and again, is part of the golf course area. And I believe it's in a cluster of trees here. And I know that the applicant can give you a little bit better sense of how it's going to be situated to not have impact on the neighbors. And here's another image of where the tower would go. And here's an even closer image right there near some support facilities. And here's a street view of where the property is. And oh, that's an error there. So anyway, staff is supportive of this request and is recommending approval.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I guess, is Mr. Riley back with us on this, Chloe?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Riley, whenever you're ready.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. Yes, Mr. Morgan did a great job describing this request. We've just a little history here. We did request an alternative site to this location last year. And it was not as concealed and a little bit closer to the residential on the other side of the golf course. And out of concern over the residents, we've chosen this location, which we feel is more appropriate and screened with the trees, the existing mature trees in there. There's a lot of, 50, 60 foot tall pine trees that'll screen this facility that's very badly needed on the north end of Daniel Island. The residents want it. So we're hopeful we got a good location here to make that happen. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Riley, for your time and information. There's no one again signed up to speak in favor or opposed to this, and there's no written comment. So that'll close the public aspect of this application. Commission members, questions, comments, or motion?
Mr. Bailey has his hand up.
Go ahead, Mr. Bailey.
I move for approval.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Any other questions, comments, or second?
Second.
I'll second.
Who is second? I'm sorry. Ms. Johnson or Ms.
It was
Brian
me,
Jenkins.
but I think someone else did too, so that's fine.
All right,
Yeah.
Ms. Bryant. I think Ms. Bryant Jenkins, we need a second on that.
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you. So we'll do a roll call vote on this. Mr. Bailey,
Aye in favor.
thank you. Ms. Bryant Jenkins,
I in favor.
thank you. Ms. Jacobs,
I in favor.
great. Ms. Johnson,
I in favor.
thank you. Ms. Lymphosis,
I in favor.
Ms. Lassane, Harry,
Aye in favor.
thank you. And I'm in favor. That's 7 in favor and none opposed. So that passes. The next item on the agenda is ordinance amendments number 1, River Road and Maybank Highway, the village at Fenwick PUD, Johns Island, TMS number 34600000004, approximately 11.730 acres. Request an amendment to the planned unit development master plan and development guidelines as applicable to the property owned by the city of Charleston. Mr. Morgan, is this Lee or are you going to do this?
I'm going to handle this one.
Go ahead, Mr. Morgan.
Okay, so this is a PUD that some of you all might remember. It came forward a few years ago for approval and got approval. And then there was an amendment to it at one point that was also approved. And now the city of Charleston has bought the property that is outlined here and is interested in creating affordable housing here, which of course is allowed in the PUD already as a use of right, as any housing would be. But we are interested in a site plan that would be a little bit different from what was anticipated in the PUD, just slightly different. And we are proposing an amendment because of that, trying to make the best use of the property. And I'll kind of go into this in a little bit more detail. First, I just want to outline how this is in our new city plan. It shows as city centers. So the kind of densest and most intense uses for this area of Johns Island would be in a location like this. So the amendment is definitely in keeping with that. Here is an image that shows it as part of the city centers, as is the rest of the PUD as well. Here's an image showing the property, which is heavily covered with trees. And that's part of the PUD amendment change, is to help us deal with preserving as many of these beautiful trees that are on the site as possible as well. And then this is, I'm going to come back to this image here, but what is being proposed is an allowance to let up to 150 residential units be built on this site. At present, under the current PUD, you could do about, depending on how many end up on the property adjacent to it, you might have like 137 on this one. But what we would like the freedom to do is up to 150 and allow them to be multifamily or a combination of types of units, such as townhouses and possibly some single family. So we can have a very diverse, affordable community here. And we'd also like to help preserve the trees and help us with stormwater issues to have an allowance of up to 4 stories in height rather than the current PUD, which limits you to 3 stories. So in our feelings, it doesn't really change the whole character of the PUD too much. We already do have some areas on Johns Island that have 4-story structures, such as in the middle of the Maybank Highway area at Live Oak Square. So it's not like 4 stories is alien to Johns Island. And definitely multifamily is allowed in a number of locations. We did some design studies on the site, and our design division did this image, which does not mean that the site has to be developed in this manner, but it shows how you could have a range of building types here, which we think is very important. And we already have approved through the PUD and through our DRB, the Beach Company is building 250 or so unit apartment complex on the southern side of the Pitchfork Road here. And these are 3-story buildings over here. And to help us deal with the incredible number of trees on the site, we'd like the ability to go to 4, and that's what you're seeing here. But we would also agree to keep the 4 stories away from the edge of the Fenwick Hall property itself and limit it to 3 stories within 50 feet of that Fenwick Hall property. And we think with this, we can have a very cohesive community with a range of affordable units that could be, multifamily units as well as townhouse units and maybe even some single family units. So that being said, that's pretty much everything that is in the PUD amendment. And I'd be happy to answer questions on this, but we think it's in line with what our comprehensive plan says, and we think it will help us create a great affordable development adjacent to some other market rate developments.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I see there's no one signed up to speak and no written comments on this, so that'll close the public aspect of this.
Mr. Chairman,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
There may be a staff person from Housing and Community Development. Ms. Shaw Johnson may be here, or Matt may want to speak on this.
Oh, that's great. If anyone wants to speak, we'll be glad to listen to him. Ms. Johnson, is that you? You want to speak on this?
If I can unmute myself, yes, sir.
Thank you.
We just ask your support of it. Christopher, as always, did an awesome job of describing it. And we're excited about the opportunity that this site can bring as it relates to the number of units. And so we simply ask your support of this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. And as always, thank you for your work. Mr. Morgan, is anyone else want to speak on this item?
Matt, did you have anything you wanted to add, Matt Ojala?
No, it's encourage your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. So that'll close the public aspect of this. I'd ask commission members for questions, comments, or a motion on this ordinance amendment.
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Bailey's hand is up.
Who is that? I'm sorry, Ms. Jacobs?
I saw Mr. Bailey's.
Oh, Mr. Bailey, you go
Go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead, Ms. Jacobs.
I was just going to move for approval. I think, given the fact that we've got to consider in the future elevation-based zoning, and I don't know how high the high ground is here, that we should give those kind of considerations to get the maximum use of the property for affordable housing. And I know that there was some nice open space designed into this section of the city, which will be grand for that area. So I'm happy to move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. And I think this is Mr. Bailey. I think this is the Bailey home turf, isn't it, John's Island?
There's some history there for sure. You know, I am supportive. I'm supportive of some pretty broad leniency for affordable housing. I just want to ask staff the question of, you know, are we okay with going to 4 stories because it's affordable housing? Or would we be okay going to 4 stories for any developer on this parcel? And maybe the follow-up question is, are we making a decision here that's, you know, potentially puts us in a bad spot on something else on John's Island?
So what I would say is that it's a combination of things. First and foremost, when we look at the site, and it's hard to tell from this image because the trees aren't showing their true size, but what these trees are, these are grand trees. And so they are all through here. And even with a 4-story building, the grand trees are going to be around it. And, you know, there shouldn't be a building exceeding the height of these grand trees, but by virtue of helping us stack a little bit more, we can have more land area for those trees and still fit the units on the site, which again, helps it to be more affordable. I would say that the county's new Maybank overlay allows in these 3 centers along Maybank, here at River and Maybank, and in the middle of Maybank around Live Oak Square, and then over at Main and Maybank, it allows up to 5 stories if you're doing affordable housing. And we already do have 4 stories at Live Oak Square, which is not even affordable. It's market rate. So I think for those variety of reasons, we're comfortable with this, and feel like it will make for an attractive location because the trees will help screen those taller buildings, and will not, for instance, let them overshadow the Fenwick Hall property because we're keeping them 50 feet away over there.
I probably should have led by saying I am comfortable making a decision for a little more height based on the fact that it's an affordable project. I just want to make sure I want to make sure everyone else is comfortable with that as well, but I will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey, and good comments on that. Anyone else like to speak on this? Questions, comments? If not, there's a motion by Ms. Jacobs, second by Mr. Bailey. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey?
I in favor.
Thank Ms. Bryant Jenkins.
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Jacobs?
I in favor.
Great. Ms. Johnson?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Lampasas?
I in favor.
Great. Mr. Lasane?
I in favor.
And I'm in favor as well. That's 7 in favor and none opposed. The next item on the agenda is ordinance amendment number 2. A request to amend chapter 54 of the Code of City of Charleston zoning ordinance by amending the requirements and provisions in Article 2, Part 4, Section 54-214 pertaining to accessory dwelling units. Mr. Morgan, you gonna be handling this?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And I will be pulling in Miss Johnson as well on this, but this is a quick amendment to our recently approved accessory dwelling unit ordinance. I think that what has been found is that at present, there is the requirement that the accessory dwelling units be permanently affordable housing. And that, I think, has intimidated some folks and may have led to not as many people choosing to do this type of dwelling unit as we had hoped. And so instead, in discussion with council members and staff, the feeling is that we would change that to a 30-year affordability period, which is still, a very good amount of time for an affordable unit to be there. But it might give some homeowners more comfort since it's like in line with a mortgage or something like that. But I'll let Ms. Johnson explain a little bit further if she has other details she wants to get into in reference to this, but it's a pretty simple amendment related to that affordability period.
Christopher, well said. And to commission members, that is the summation of what we're presenting tonight. We had an article that was posted in the Post and Courier regarding ADUs when this first came out. And the amount of excitement and the number of calls and emails we received was astounding. We were really excited about it. What we found after explaining it and the inference that the units had to remain into perpetuity caused a slight chill in some of the momentum that we garnered from all of those persons that were interested in ADUs. Thus, we took the discussion to the CD Committee of City Council. There was a recommendation for 40 years, for no years. We met in the middle because, as Christopher stated, and as all of us know, typically our mortgages are 30 years. And so we thought it appropriate based on that and based on other historically what we've done in ordinances in terms of affordability. We believe this was appropriate. Additionally, we still plan to have the incentive there for the first 10 residents that successfully get through the application process, whereby we would provide an incentive of $20,000 towards the construction of their ADU. And we provided that or added that incentive because we learned as we researched ADUs in other parts of the country that one, the city of Charleston is the first to add an affordable component, and two, typically these types of programs or the ADU program comes out of the gate a little bit slower than other ordinances that are on the books. So we ask your approval of this 30-year affordability period, and we are anticipating as a result of that, those folks that we were previously in contact with and were interested in participating will come back to the table, if you will. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, Mr. Morgan. I see again, no one else has signed up to speak on this and no written comments. So that'll close the public aspect of this. Commission members, comments, questions, motion?
Mr. Bailey has his hand raised.
Go ahead.
I understand the folks who are a little concerned about perpetuity, and 30 years is still a long time. So I say we give it a try and see what happens. It can always be adjusted again, I suppose, if need be, but I would move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Other comments, questions, or motions? Second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Lassane. There's a motion by Mr. Bailey, second by Mr. Lassane. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Bryant Jenkins?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Jacobs?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
I in favor.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Lempesis?
I in favor.
And Mr. Lassane?
I in favor.
Great, and I'm in favor as well, so that's 7 in favor and none opposed. Ordinance amendment number 3 is a request to amend chapter 54 of the Code of City of Charleston zoning ordinance by amending applicable sections related to the Design Review Board in order to establish board member alternatives. Mr. Morgan?
Thank you. And so, yes, this is another pretty simple amendment, but it'll have some good repercussions for our Design Review Board. For a good while now, we've had alternates that were folks that could serve kind of at a couple of days' notice for our Board of Architectural Review, particularly if some of our members who all typically are in the design professions had conflicts because they were part of a design team on a particular project. And that happens a lot more with those conflicts with BAR and Design Review Board than it does, for instance, with Planning Commission or BZA. And so it's been a good thing to have some alternates who are ready to serve so that they continue to have a quorum. Another reason for this is that these boards have smaller membership, and so they have smaller quorums as well. The ordinance here is outlined, and you all got it in your packages, but it would allow for 7 board members and now 2 alternates, and their terms would be staggered, as y'all's terms, of course, are staggered as well. And we think it would be helpful to making sure that we don't have projects get delayed and have to wait another month for another meeting just because somebody has a conflict on a particular issue.
Great, makes sense, Mr. Morgan. I see that, again, there's no one signed up to speak, no written comments on this. So
Actually,
close-
Charlie,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
just wanted to state for the record, I don't actually see him on the attendee list, but we did have one person signed up to speak, Josh Dix, who's with the Charleston Trident Area Realtors Association. And he had signed up in favor. He planned to speak in favor of the ordinance amendment, but he is not.
I missed that, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I apologize. I see that on there. We're ready for Mr. Dix whenever he's available.
Charlie, he's not on here. I did just want to state for the record that
Okay.
he was signed up to speak in favor.
Okay. All right. Thank you. For the record, Mr. Dix is signed up or is in favor of the application, but he's not with us to speak, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That'll close the public aspect of this. Commission members, questions, comments, or motion?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Hussein. A second.
Second.
I'll second.
Who is that? I'm sorry. Ms. Brian Jenkins?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So motion by, I'm sorry, I'm slipping.
The same.
Mr. Lassane made the motion and second by Ms. Brian Jenkins. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Brian Jenkins?
I in favor.
Great. Ms. Jacobs?
I in favor.
Great. Ms. Johnson?
I in favor.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Lymphosis?
I in favor.
Mr. Lassane?
I in favor.
I'm in favor as well. So that's 7 in favor and none opposed. Subdivision number 1, Park Lawn Drive, Carolina Bay, West Ashley, TMS number 307-000000099 and 307-05-00501, approximately 12.42 acres. Crest subdivision concept approval for 43 lots. Planned unit development, Carolina Bay PUD. Ms. Morgan, who's going to have Ms. Harp or
Ms. Harp will handle this.
Ms. Harp? I got you. Ms. Harp, you go ahead. I think you're muted.
Thank you. I will get it one of these days. We haven't been doing this too long, so I'll get it. Good evening. This is a concept plan approval request for a subdivision, as you mentioned, in Carolina-based subdivision planning and development. The applicant is requesting subdivision concept plan for 12.42 acres off of Park Lawn Drive in West Ashley. The project consists in the creation of new rights of way to serve 43 parcels for single-family detached homes, and also presents open space. The proposed rights of ways are typical for residential streets in the Carolina Bay PUD. There are wetlands on the parcel, as you can see, and the wetlands are proposed to be impacted by the proposed subdivision. A little history on this one. When the Carolina Bay PUD was approved in 2006, this site was designated as a school site for Charleston County School District. The conditions of the approval for the PUD was that if the school was not to be built, of this parcel, at least a minimum of 12-acre parcel was to be reserved for the city as a city park. So after lots of discussion between parties, earlier this year, Charleston County School District provided a letter stating that they will no longer be interested in a school on this site. and that it was available for development. And as you will be able to see on this, as you can see on this image right here, the 12-acre parcel is being provided for a future park for the city to develop, like I said, at a future date. This is located in the planning and development. The PUD allows for single-family, detached, and attached residential units. Surrounding uses include single and multifamily residential and some agricultural uses. The project has been reviewed by TRC a number of times. It started in 2020. It has come, and the last review was actually last week, and it has been approved by all departments as it meets the requirements for a concept plan. As you know, concept plan will come back to TRC for preliminary plat approval and road construction plans approval. So with all that information that I gave you, the city staff recommends approval with conditions. The condition is from Stormwater, that the Department of Stormwater Management approves the concept plan with the condition that the subsequent preliminary plat and road construction plans meet the minimum requirements of the City of Charleston's 2020 Stormwater Design Standards Manual. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. Did I miss something? I know if it wasn't going to be a school, I thought it was going to be then a park for the city of Charleston.
Not this parcel. There was a larger parcel that it was supposed to be a school, and it was set outside for a school. Once Charleston County decided that they didn't want the school, Charleston County School District, there was a minimum. The condition was that at least 12 acres were going to be set aside for a park, and that is what they are presenting. There's a 12-acre parcel in there that it will be a park.
Okay.
So the park is not part of the 12 acres are not part of the concept plan. That will be completely separate.
The last image with the aerial, Christopher does a good job of showing it.
This one right here, Chloe?
Yeah, just all the open space. That's
the open space where it says site. That is the park. That is the area that will be reserved for the park.
Okay.
So there you go. So the lines, the development will stop. As you see the lots in there, that is where the concept plan, that's where you're approving. You're not approving the park. The park will be separately developed by the city at a future date.
All right. Thank you for that clarification for me.
Absolutely.
Who do we have presenting, Chloe, who's available for us now?
I am promoting everyone on the list, although we have 3 showing up as Grace Wachowski. So we may need you to introduce yourself separately if you've all used the same link to join.
Y'all go ahead whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Hey guys, this is David Prohaskett, Team Whiteside, and Grace is here with me. We're in the same conference room. Okay, yeah, there we go. We got the video. And then Chloe, you promoted the folks from Pulte as well. Is that right?
Yes, I'm trying to promote. I see Will Lucas on here, trying to promote Will, but he will have to click on a prompt. He'll have to accept being promoted on his end.
Yeah, Will Waterhouse with Pulte is on, and I believe Sid Dudley is as well.
Great, gentlemen, y'all go ahead and tell us what you have to tell us.
Will you
I'll jump in. This is Sid Dudley with Pulte. We've, Carolina Bay has been a large community for us in the Charleston market for a long time, and we've really enjoyed developing that community. I think a lot of residents in the area really enjoy living in there. We've delivered multiple, amenities in the area, connected to some of the city trail systems through our community, and out to the road over by Lowe's to, increase foot traffic and pedestrian traffic throughout the city of Charleston. And this is one additional area that was always identified in the PUD that we've been working to kind of finalize the master plan, and that's why we're here in front of y'all tonight. So thank you for hearing us, and I'll turn it over to David with the engineering team.
Thanks, Sid. Yep. So as I think we talked about, y'all see kind of the layout, but the bigger parcel contains, the proposed lots, and then the future city park property, which we've been through numerous meetings with city staff and the mayor's office on the, where the residential areas would start and stop, and kind of what would be the park areas. So very close coordination with them on that. And then one just note, I know the wetlands were mentioned. The wetland impacts are part of a nationwide permit that's really for the road crossing to access the property that you see, Grovehurst Drive, and then for the stormwater outfalls in order to meet the detention requirements for that. So that's what those are related to, and happy to answer any other questions.
Great. Is anyone else to speak from your team? If not, we're good. I just want to make sure I don't want to cut anybody off.
Good on our end.
Okay, thank you. I see that we have Councilmember Brady, I think, is signed up to speak in opposition. Is Councilmember, I don't see anyone signed up to speak in favor, and no written comments in favor. So
Yep.
I'm sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead. You're getting there.
So Councilmember Brady is signed up to speak in opposition. Is he available for us?
Yes, Councilmember Brady.
Councilmember Brady.
Yep. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Brady. Whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. I appreciate you giving me the chance to speak. I've had many residents reach out about this particular part of the neighborhood getting developed. I also live in Carolina Bay, so I'm a neighbor as well as the council member that represents the majority of the neighborhood. And most of the concerns that have come to me have been on a few things. One, the stormwater. Most of the people that live over there, especially off Glen Arden, know how wet that area gets. So I was at least encouraged to see the condition on it being the most current, older standards. But the stormwater concerns are definitely there. And then also, people had reached out with concerns, especially along Glen Arden and the one cul-de-sac, that they had paid lot premiums to not have houses back up against those homes. And so, that was a concern that got brought forth there, especially if there are going to be homes built there. I would hope that we could encourage, from a site design standpoint, at least some type of buffer or something to mitigate those concerns, since those folks did pay the lot premium there. And then the last concern, I know it's not in the purview of the Planning Commission, but I did just want to state it for the record, that the PUD has been in place for quite some time, and compared to other similar neighborhoods in the city, the homeowners association or the property owners association here has not been turned over to full control to the homeowners because it has not been fully built out yet. But it seems to be the PUD that just won't die in terms of considerable development continuing to happen over more than a 10-year period. And so know that Pulte, this is included in the original PUD. We all kind of acknowledge that, but just wanted to state the concerns that have been brought to my attention.
Thank you, Councilmember Brady, for your time and being with us tonight. We have, Chloe, do you want to summarize the written comments or read the written comment?
Yes, there's one written comment from Travis Faith from 2917 Glen Arden Drive. And it's just expressing concern about the area being developed fence to fence, and also citing stormwater concerns, wanting stormwater to be a top priority.
Thank you, ma'am. Would the applicants like to respond to anything that was brought up?
Yeah, this is Will Waterhouse. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. You go ahead. Yes, sir. You go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hello.
Yeah, you go ahead, sir.
Oh, you can hear me. I just wanted to
Yes,
make sure.
sir.
Yeah, no, I appreciate everyone's input, and certainly we've been a part of that community, building it to date, and we've been active in that area. This has been an area that has been circled for potential development for the PUD, as Mr. Brady highlighted. Regarding stormwater, this development was put through the new stormwater design manual, so it's got the latest and greatest protections from the city that are in the design and concept plan. So, we feel strongly and confident that our engineers have done, what they've done is pass muster for the city, in that regard.
David, I'd like to add.
Go ahead.
David, in regards to Glenarden Drive, didn't Kinsey have a particular comment to sheet flow coming from those lots and how we were to address that?
Correct. Yes, we are taking the stormwater for the lots that are adjacent to the existing rear lots, only to the areas that there's an existing, public drainage easement and storm system. The comment was that we would not be allowed to, sheet flow storm drainage onto, an adjacent property. And so that flow will be connected to the existing system that's there and is a public drainage system.
Great. Gentlemen, thank you. I don't want to cut anyone off. Is there anything else y'all wanted to say on this? We're good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So that will close the public aspect of this subdivision request. I'd ask commission members for questions, comments, or a motion. Don't all jump at once.
Charlie, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Lempesis, you go ahead.
Could Mr. Waterhouse address the wooded lot complaint that they mentioned earlier about selling the houses there for premium on the wooded lots that are also in this gentleman's comment?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not old enough to be involved in the lot premium discussion. However, I will tell you that this area has always either been a park or a school site or development or some combination thereof. So to the extent that there should always be some sort of buffer, I'm not sure. However, I do think that there can be some sort of accommodation made for that consideration, as long as the infrastructure, doesn't require elimination of that buffer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lempesis. Other questions, comments, or motion?
Yeah, just one further question. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Jacobs has her hand up.
Ms. Jacobs, you go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to state for the record that I did read the 28 pages of the stormwater review for the concept plan of this. And in that, it does state that they do have to comply with our new manual, which is a condition of our approval tonight, as well as they're requiring the designer to look at low impact development and green infrastructure for stormwater management. So this development will get the latest and greatest for stormwater management in our city. And I think that we should always bring that forward so that people understand that it goes through a very extensive review just to get to us for concept plan review. And then it will go through a whole nother layer of stormwater management planning before any building permits are given. So I just wanted people to understand that this is very much being looked at and under our new guidelines. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank Mr. Lassane.
I was just going to ask how, if we know when the houses on Glen Arden were built, how long have they been occupying those sites with nothing behind them, essentially?
It's just saying, I think it's 2009 or 2010. I could pull up the records, but
That's
I
okay.
guess sometime in that time frame.
About 12 years.
Yeah. So I guess my point is they've been able to occupy that without having folks behind them for a nice little chunk of time. So they have gotten some value out of if there was a premium paid. Of course, there's no guarantees unless you either own the property or you have some sort of covenant over it, which I'm sure they did not have. So anyhow, I was just curious. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sane. And I think the idea of a buffer, I hope the developers hear that. If this is approved, I think the buffer is, there definitely needs to be some buffer there as well. Commission members, other questions, comments, or is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Moves for approval. Is there a second?
I'd second it, but I would also like to encourage Pulte to put a buffer around that area. I think that no matter how long, 12 years, 10 years, their resale, somebody could have bought it 2 months ago. And I just think it's important that they abide by what was officially and originally offered. So I think, I approve and I'm voting in favor of this, but I would like for them to consider a buffer of some sort. Thank you.
I agree with you, Ms. Lampasas. So there's a motion by Ms. Johnson, second by Ms. Lampasas. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey?
Mr.
Charlie,
Chairman.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman?
what, the applicant raised their hand.
Go ahead. You go ahead, sir. If you have something to say, we'll listen.
We can do the vote, Mr. Chairman. I was just asking about the buffer. When would clarification be made on what we'd be looking at? If that's going to be a condition of tonight, can we further discuss it, or?
Well,
as you can see the plan here with the 12-acre park is, we've made, connections in previous plans, and we didn't control this area. As part of the PUD before, we didn't control this area, but you can see we've made plans for connections in the past with our sidewalks and infrastructure. But as far as the buffer goes, I think we could probably agree to a fence or a planted single row or something like that. But as far as a buffer, I think it would restrict the stormwater flow. So just wanted to bring that up to everyone's attention and see.
Thank you, sir.
That further.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Morgan, I don't know that we have the ability, tell me if I'm wrong, to say that we require a buffer. Obviously, I think Ms. Lampasas was recommending strongly to keep the peace in that area.
And my motion did not have that as a condition.
Nor
Right.
did my second have that.
Right. And I don't even think we have that ability yet. I don't think they even require that. So anyway, I appreciate it. So there's a motion on the floor to approve.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Jacobs, go ahead.
is Mrs. Johnson's motion with the condition supplied by, the stormwater condition?
I think if there was a condition recommended by staff for
Yes,
stormwater.
the staff recommendation for
Yeah, and Ms.
stormwater.
Johnson, just to clarify, your motion to approve is based on the condition recommended by staff?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry.
Thank you. And Ms.
Thank you.
Lampus is second as well?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. So
Mr.
there's a
Lassane
motion.
has his hand raised.
Mr. Lassane, you go ahead, sir.
Oh, I apologize. I had the same question as Ms. Jacobs, and I didn't realize my hand was still up.
Thank you. We're all on the same page, which is good. So we'll do there's a motion by Ms. Johnson, second by Ms. Lampasas to approve with conditions presented by staff. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Bryant Jenkins?
I in favor.
Great. Ms. Jacobs?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Lampasas?
I in favor.
Mr. Lassane?
I in favor.
And I'm in favor as well. That's 7 in favor and none opposed on that. So that passes. The last subdivision, then number 2 is deferred. So the last one is Sanders Road, West Ashley, TMS number 286-0000001, approximately 0.3 acres. Request subdivision concept approval for public road, zone LB, limited business and diverse residential, DR1F. Ms. Harp?
Yeah, you remember. Thank you.
There you go. I got it.
Okay, this is, as you mentioned, this is off of Sanders Road, and the applicant is requesting subdivision concept plan approval of an access road off Sanders Road in West Ashley. Every time there's a new right-of-way, proposed right-of-way, it has to come to concept plan and it has to come in front of you. So this will be, the projects consist in the creation of a new right-of-way to connect Sanders Road to a future multifamily development. Let's see if I can see it there, the next one. A future, so it's just that little section in the red. That's what you're approving today. I mean, that's what they're asking for approval today. It will connect a future multifamily development, and as well as provide a connection to the existing The Point, a roads crossing subdivision. The proposed rights of way are typical of residential streets in the city of Charleston. There are wetlands on the parcel, but no wetland disturbance is proposed with this concept plan for the road. The property is on LB Limited Business and DR1F, diverse residential. This surrounding uses include single-family detached and attached dwelling units as well as multifamily residential. This one will have to come back to TRC. Let me back up. It has gone through TRC twice, and it received approval by all departments, and it will come back for preliminary plat review as well as road construction plans. The staff recommendation for this request is for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Harp. Is Mr. Riley still with us? Chloe?
I'm promoting him now as well as others from his applicant team.
Okay, great. Mr. Riley and whoever, we're ready for you whenever you're ready.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Brian Riley again. Appreciate your time again. Ms. Harp did a great job explaining it. Fairly simple public right-of-way proposed subdivision that will also provide access to the remaining undeveloped parcel. And just for the record, this project, this road extension will comply with the 2020 Stormwater Manual, including the Church Creek standards that's in that new manual. And that will be further required as we develop the road construction plans and get through the TRC process. Lastly, I'd like to echo the comments you made at the beginning of the meeting. Appreciate all the commissioners' service and time. I know it's a difficult job, and we appreciate everything y'all do.
Thank you, Mr. Riley, and we appreciate you being with us as well. So thank you for your work. So I see there's no one, is anyone else to speak? I don't think there's anyone signed up to speak, and there's no written comments. So that being the case, we close the public aspect of this, and I'd ask commission members for questions, comments, or motion.
I'll move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Lassane. Mr. Lassane always bails me out when there's a lull, so I appreciate it.
I'll second Mr. Lassane.
Great. Ms. Lampasas, thank you. So Ms. Lassane makes a motion to approve, second by Ms. Lampasas, and I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Bryant Jenkins?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Jacobs?
I in favor, and I appreciate the applicant's comments about conforming to the new stormwater guidelines in the Church Creek Basin model.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. Ms. Johnson?
I in favor.
Great. Ms. Lampasas?
I in favor.
Mr. Lassane?
I in favor.
Great. And I'm in favor. That's 7 in favor, none opposed. Last item are the minutes on the agenda or zoning. 326 Geddes Avenue, Geddes Hall, West Ashley, TMS number 350100138.45 acres, request zoning of single family residential SR1. It was on R4, single family residential in Charleston County. Mr. Morgan.
Yes, so we are recommending the SR1 zoning for this property. This surrounding area is generally SR1, and it was R4 in Charleston County. And here it is in the suburban edge designation, which would conform with that SR1 and conversion from the DR4, from the R4 in Charleston County to the SR1.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. You know, it's interesting. It's amazing to me. I still see these, and I think the Post Courier had an article on them about donut holes. I know people that live on Gettys. I didn't realize there's still a lot of properties in Charleston County there. So,
And we are adding an annexation coordinator, assuming the budget is approved as it received in first reading. So we will be working on these donut holes in 2022.
seems like that would make sense. So anyway, I appreciate it. And I see there's no one signed up to speak on this. So that would close up the public aspect. Commission members, with this heated item, is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
I'll second it.
Mr. Lassane seconds. I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Bailey?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Bryant Jenkins?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Jacobs?
I in favor.
Thanks. Ms. Johnson?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Lampasas?
I in favor.
Mr. Lassane?
I in favor.
And I'm in favor as well. That's 7 in favor and none opposed. The last item on the agenda is the minutes. I know Ms. Ms. Jacobs, did you want to, it makes it easier for me if you would just, I think you had a couple of things on there that we're approving minutes. Let's see what's minutes. Chloe, what minutes are we approving here tonight?
November 17th, Mr. Chairman, and it was just a spelling of a man's name because in the people that are present, it's a Mr. Tony Berry. His name is spelled there B-E-R-R-Y, but later on in the minutes, it becomes Mr. Berry B-A-R-R-Y. So it was confusing and then it flips back and forth almost within the same sentence. So it was just like, are there two people here or one person here? So I just wondered if we could maybe get that consistent throughout the minutes with that man's name.
So Ms. Jacobs, are you making a motion that we approve the minutes with that clarification?
Yes, I am, sir. Thank you.
And I appreciate Ms. Jacobs. We know that everything's going to be right. If she reads those minutes, they're going to be correct. So Ms. Jacobs makes a motion. Is there a second? Second, Ms. Lassane, is that you? Great, thank you. Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll do a roll call vote on the minutes. Mr. Bailey?
I in favor.
Great.
I just want to make sure though that Miss Jacobs got the right spelling in the right place because
I don't know. I don't know which spelling is
That's a
correct.
good point,
That's
Mr. Bailey, I
That's
tell
the
you.
problem. I don't know which is the correct spelling of this man's name at this point.
We ought to put that in the motion that Ms. Jacobs is responsible for that. So anyway, we'll get that straight. So Mr. Bailey's in favor. Ms. Bryant Jenkins?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Jacobs?
I in favor.
Great. Ms. Johnson?
I in favor.
Ms. Lampasas?
I in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Lassane?
I in favor.
And I'm in favor as well. That's 7 in favor, none opposed. You know, this is, it's hard to believe the year's almost over. So I wanted to thank staff again for all their great work during the year. And I want to thank all you commission members for your work and time. And it sounds like we'll be able to hopefully see each other in person, whether it be good or bad for next month. And I hope everyone has a great and happy holiday. Ms. Jacobs, did you have something?
Yes, sir. Very quick. There was a statement early in our agenda about the changing of the public commenting when we go to in-person meetings. Do we have any information about that? 1 and 2, I think it might be helpful for the commission to hear in our January meeting all of these potential budgetary items that might be coming our way if they're approved, like a water plan, a zoning code review, the peninsula plan, this preservation plan or annexation person. So if we could get a very quick update at our January meeting with regards to what did finally make it through the budgetary process and what we might see coming for us.
We will do that. And just also be aware, we are standardizing a little bit between the different boards, the packages and the materials that go out in advance. Because you all have always gotten very complete packages, but some of our other boards haven't gotten as much stuff. And so we are going to have those a little bit more standardized when we move to the in-person meetings. So you might see some differences. We're still working out exactly how that's going to be. You'll still get them electronically, but there may be a few changes in how the packages are put together. And that is coming in January as well. And we'll get you all an update on what's coming out of the budget.
Christopher, to answer Donna's question about how the public comments will happen. So I know you mentioned that we're moving to in person, but there are going to be some changes in terms of public participation. I just wanted to make sure that you all knew that. And also this is the sort of official statement to the public, heads up about these changes coming in January. So some things that you can do now will no longer be doing once we move to in person. There will no longer be an option to participate virtually, meaning there will no longer be an option to sign up to speak or join as a speaker virtually. You'll still be able to submit written comments. Those will be due at noon the day prior to the meeting, as the same deadline as is now. Then those comments will be provided to commissioners and posted online 24 hours in advance. You'll still be able to watch virtually. You will just not be able to speak or join the Zoom meeting. So we will still have the YouTube streaming option, and people can watch along from wherever. And then the other thing is actually in the meeting space where we will be in person, we'll be doing social distancing still. So it won't be the normal capacity or the normal setup in there that you all are used to in the past. We'll have a waiting area and we'll be, depending on how many people are there, we may have to ask people to wait outside in the hallway or in the waiting area. We'll call them in when it's their item. And again, they'll be able to follow along because there's the option to watch the meeting on YouTube. So that's how we'll be facilitating that, and just wanted to make sure everybody understood and the public heard how they can still participate in person or virtually going forward.
Thank you, Chloe, for clarifying that. I thought that was a good thing when we're meeting in person, that there'll be shifts of people coming in depending on when their item is brought up and things like that. So that makes a lot of sense. Any other questions, comments? If not, again, go ahead,
yeah,
Sunday, you go ahead.
Charlie, Chloe, will we be required to wear a mask in the building? I know we can't, maybe we're talking, but just questioning the mask mandate.
I'm not sure yet. I know right now in our building, city staff is not required to wear masks if we're vaccinated, that kind of thing. So I'm not sure. We're going to have to get a clarification from our safety officer on that. My sense would be you're not going to be required to wear them, but I'm not certain.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And I hope everyone has a happy and safe holiday. Have a good day.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
See y'all next year.